All right, folks, Lex and Pete, we are back for another episode. We are here to do the Power Ranking Tiers 2.0. So we had Amaral on 2 weeks ago. We're going to have Simcoe on this week, but some scheduling conflicts kind of got in the way of that. And we're trying to just squeeze it in. So we weren't able to find a guest for this week. But I do think that moving forward, we will continue to bring more league members in for those episodes specifically. And then, we'll sprinkle them in for the non-power ranking episodes as well. But I think that having a third voice in there, having somebody come in, mix it up, talk some shit, get some takes off, is exactly what this league needs to really stir the pot. So Pete and I, we will get into that in 1 second. But as always, we will start with a word from both of our sponsors, Sundog Multimedia. Sundog is an online communication and social media company. What started as a personal tool has since evolved into something much bigger, allowing users to communicate, research, and discover things that impact their lives and daily decisions. Sundog will collaborate with you to build and execute a modern yet nimble social media strategy by utilizing innovative and traditional media principles. Sundog is also a proud supporter of the Stop Soldier Suicide Foundation. You can follow Sundog on Instagram at Sundog_multimedia. That's at Sundog_multimedia. Brains Brown on true professionalism. That's easy peasy moving and service. Muscle for hire, moving, assembly, errands, you name it, they will do it. Easy peasy is a multi-service team. If you need something, just ask. All right, Pete, we are back for another power ranking episode. We were coming off good vibes in Myrtle Beach. It is good to be back. It's good to be back in my office, back in the studio, back to work, back to grinding. How are you feeling coming off that? How are you feeling about your team? How are you feeling about how the league is starting to unfold? I feel like we're through the 4 week mark. We're a month in. This is where we really get a feel for who's doing what and what team is where. So what's your overall read on the league? How are you feeling about your team?
Yeah, first of all, I'll just say I'm back to health. Yesterday was finally the day I felt back after 3 days in Myrtle. I think we had about half the league in Myrtle for the weekend, so it was great to see the boys in person. My team, man. Bryce Young and Sean Watson have me very stressed out. My quarterback situation is what keeps me up at night, but outside that, I feel really good about my team. I feel really good about my picks next year. And that's something we'll get into a little later, but those top four picks next year are looking pretty interesting at this point.
Yeah, he did have a tough loss to Simcoe. Of course, it was brutal news to have Deshaun Watson kind of pull himself out of the game. But as always, it's usually better to play the long-term card when it comes to health like that. So, what's 1 week now, and if it helps Deshaun Watson's longevity, anything like that.
Right.
Of course, Bryce Young, we've talked about him in the past. He was a bit of a concern, and then you had to, DTR. He was playing. He didn't look too great. It was exciting to have both of our rookies get into the game. I think mixed reviews on both appearances by both players, but I do think it was interesting. There is the news that Jonathan Taylor, it sounds like he's going to be coming back soon. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it feels awesome. I mean, I don't know why we did this, right? Like it seemed like JT didn't want to play for the Colts. He was going to hold out for a new contract. I was thinking he wasn't even going to play this year. And all of a sudden it's no, we'll deal with the contracts next season. It's the in season now. We're not talking contracts. We are the running back for the Indianapolis Colts this year. So I'm excited to have JT back. I think my team needed it. And then also we had the JMO news too. Like they rescinded. I didn't really look too much into the rule, but I think it's a 4 game suspension now for stuff to do with gambling. So we're
Yeah,
looking at
yeah, it was retroactively. They reduced it, and then he's now back. Um, I did see it's not like a guarantee that he's going to play. I do think that they
yeah,
still have to see that he's in game shape, ready to go. So, because you got to keep in mind, it was very spur of the moment, right? It came from out of nowhere. I'm sure he had a little bit more info on it behind the scenes, but he was prepared to be out for 6 weeks. That's now cut down to 4. So, it's not necessarily on him if he's out of shape. I think that is kind of one where he had a plan for 6 to be ready for week 6. So we'll be interested to see if he comes back. It'll be interesting to see how he's used when he comes back. But I do feel like the virus must be up in Detroit. I feel like they're going to be excited to get him back for what was a bit of a stupid suspension. So I'm very excited to see what becomes of JMO returning. Oh,
All right. Should we get power rankings?
yeah, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say, I don't have much to say on my team.
Oh, yeah.
It is what it is. I think that's I'll talk more about it when we get into the power rankings. But yeah, it's not too exciting. I guess I felt like I was kind of checked out of the actual scoreboard for the league this past week. I was checking on it because I wanted to see if I could finally get on the win column against Amaral. I felt like that was clearly my best bet for this season. So I was able to barely squeak that out. Came down to Zach Charbonnet on Monday night. I think I was down 1.3 points going into that matchup. So to have him squeeze that out, it felt good. Feels good to not be one of the teams that are still winless this season. There are two left. It's Amaral and then Angela and Sam, the most athletic sons. So it will be interesting to see who kind of lasts the longest on that one. I do feel like if there may be winless for different reasons. Angela's just got some tough scheduling luck there, maybe some tough managerial decisions as well. But yeah, let's get into the thing. Let's see, presentation mode. Can I edit it from presentation mode? All right, sounds good. All right, let me share my screen.
I will also say, like, I'm usually I'm well versed in everything that happened the past week in the NFL. But unfortunately, Ryan Simcoe basically forced two handles of Tito's down my throat in 72 hours. So I blame Ryan Simcoe for the alcohol, and my takes are coming from the box score this week because I basically don't remember one play.
I feel like it's a tale as old as time. Maybe drinking more than you should and blaming it on Simcoe. So I guess that's classic. It's the age-old excuse. Before we get into it, let's just check in real quick. This is the current playoff picture. So as always, it's the top three seeds. Those are the division winners. They are seeded out amongst themselves by points four. That will determine the 1, 2, and 3 seed. The top two seeds, of course, get a first round bye. The 4th through the 6th, these are the wild card teams. These are the non-division winners, and it's straight up points for. Whoever scores the most points, you are in the running for the wild card spots. So those are 3 right there. And then as you can see, there is quite a sizable gap between the 6th seed and Slippery Pete. But Pete, you are the 7th seed right now. You're the closest because a 30-point lead over the most athletic Suns and Go Tigers is no joke either. Of course, it is early in the season. A lot of things can change. But yeah, you currently are the one that's on the outside looking in. So we'll see. I do feel like we've always talked about there being at least like a top 5 locked in. I will say as we get into the tiers, I do think that maybe that number is expanding a little bit. On the flip side of the playoff picture, here's the current draft lottery. So as you know, this is arranged by max points for. A reminder, we do the lottery by max points for. So, sitting good players, starting bad players, starting unemployed quarterbacks, that does not help you at all when it comes to tanking. Start full on. Start a full lineup if you can. I will say my team personally, I'm in a spot right now where I don't have a second running back that can play. I guess I could start Izzy Abanaconda if I have to. That's who I will slot into that spot. He's probably going to be a healthy scratch like he has been all year. I will check out the waiver wire, but you are not obligated to pick up somebody and spend fab to fill out that roster. But if you have those players on your roster, you are fully expected to piece together a starting lineup with what you have. But no, I would never force somebody to drop a player, spend fab or anybody for the sake of filling out a roster if they're a tanking team or anything like that. That's just ridiculous. But starting at number 6, it goes Slippery Pete, Go Tigers, Most Athletic Sons, Carson Wentz, Sfogliatella, the Slow Stroke Kings. Most teams own their own picks in the lottery right now. The only one is Slippery Pete owns my pick right now. I think we'll save it for the tier talk just for the sake of time. But currently by max points for, I do have quite a lead for that top seed. So I do think that shakes it up. I don't think that's what people were expecting. And quite frankly, I'm not really sure how quickly that's going to turn around for my team either. So we'll save that for the tier talk. Let's get to it now. All right, Pete, is there anybody that you want to start with? I do have a team that I want to start with. If you don't mind, I think that I'll actually take it. Take the lead here. I'm going to go with 2 pins. I'm going to go with the reigning half champs here. I'm going to keep them at the top, but I am going to edit the team name. I'm going to have to do it. It's going from the standard to the standard.
The standard.
I'm starting to feel a bit iffy right now on the reigning half champs, and it was one of those where watching that Chargers game, I was plugged into that Chargers game. I had to see my boy AOC making that start. yeah, being locked into that and seeing Herbert go down like that, and I know that he came back, and I know it's on his non-throwing hand, and I know that he's not going to miss any time. They got the bye week now; he should be good to go. But it made me kind of feel like two pins was finally mortal. And I know that they have Cooper Kupp coming back. I know that they still have the receivers, but I was looking because all of a sudden when Justin Herbert went down, I was like, what the hell are they going to do at quarterback if he goes down? Their second quarter, or I guess their third quarterback is Taysom Hill. That's the only other quarterback eligible player they have on the roster. Those running backs are kind of dog shit. I'm starting to wonder if that Ramondre season last year was really the norm, or if that's kind of just what we have to, or if this is what we have to expect for the rest of the time, right? I just feel like Ramondre is not getting the job done. Miles Sanders hasn't been too exciting. Of course, George spent so much for Antonio Gibson a couple of years ago. He has completely fallen off the face of the earth. I just feel like that they don't really have those running backs that are able to just keep them steady right now. And I'm not sure if the whole team is going to be able to pick that up. I feel like the rest of the league is starting to catch up to them a little bit. I feel like it's what we've seen from Big Brain. I feel like it's what we've seen from McMorrow, where sure, you start off and you're still putting up these big points, but the gap that you used to have compared to the rest of the league, I just don't think it's there anymore. I think comparatively, they're a little bit weaker when we're talking about the rest of the league. I still have them at the top. I still think that they're worthy of that spot, but I don't think that they're as safe as we originally thought going into the season and what we've become used to. Pete, what are your thoughts on two pins?
Yeah, I think it's very important you explicitly said they are still at the top, right? Because they are still at the top. They're still the 1.5 champs. They still got Holmes. They still got Herbert. They still got the receivers. They are still at the top. But I think, like you said it perfectly, there's a chink in the armor. There's a little chink in the armor, and I think it's enough to put that question mark at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, Ramondre and Dame, they were able to kind of coexist, or in the past, they've been able to kind of coexist. Dame Harris is not doing anything in Buffalo right now. It's like I said, Antonio Gibson, he did get some good receiving work last week, but this last night, but he really has not been, especially not been what they paid for. And then, yeah, I mean, he's starting this week. They had to start Roshan Johnson, and left the game with a concussion. Miles Sanders has been a bit underwhelming on, a kind of a weak Panthers offense. So I'm a little bit worried, about how they're going to play out. And then I also look at the draft capital that they have, and I just don't feel like they're as equipped to make the big moves as maybe some other teams in the league. So I worry about if something were to go wrong, if somebody were to get injured, if they had to make a move like they had to last year when they traded for Lockett and because Kupp went down. I just worry about their flexibility on those moves comparatively. So yeah, I just feel like the league's catching up to them a little bit, and I don't think that they're as strong in the past. But
yeah, it's Joe and George we're talking about here. We know these two owners. They actually probably, I mean, they're plug and play guys until about week 8 or 9. Then they make their one playoff move. Last year it was Miles Sanders. 2 years ago it was Antonio Gibson. I think they're still going to make that move again. I offered them everything they possibly wanted for Stephon Diggs coming into the season, and they said, nope, it's a repeat year. We're going 3 straight. So I think they're still locked in the championship, and they are going to look to make that move. But this is George and Joe we're talking about, so they don't really get involved until week 8, week 9.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see. But all right, Pete, who do you got next?
I think we got to talk about the Zits. The Zits have clearly separated themselves as, in my eyes, the title favorite.
I agree. I mean, there were some talks in the league in a group chat, a separate group chat, a home chat, if you will, just talking about how we're feeling about different teams. And a lot of people, it does seem to be the general opinion of the league that the Zits are the team to beat right now. I think they're by far the hottest team in the league. I mean, they're at the top of the money list, $20, more than or double second place. So they're kind of starting to run away with that. They're starting to make a little bit of the buy-in back. So that's becoming a team that has nothing to lose. And I think that they, have kind of stumbled into some really good depth. They have a lot of great position players. The quarterbacks, of course, Anthony Richardson has really stepped up in his rookie season. We've seen what his rushing ability has been able to, give him in terms of points. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Zits are a serious team. I mean, what are you thinking? What do you want to do with them? I thought last week I didn't love putting the Vibers up there with them. I do think the Vibers are a great team, but I didn't love putting them in the same tier as the Zits. I even thought 2 weeks ago, I thought the Zits were maybe a little bit above that. So I would like to give them their own tier.
Exactly.
What do you want to call it?
It's got to be better than the contenders, but not the standard. It's like the Zits is the
team
lead
to beat.
horse.
Are they just the team to beat?
Sure, team to beat. They're the lead horse in the race right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, I think everybody's they're the team that has the bullseye in the back. We know that Bowen loves that. He loves being the guy that everybody wants to go after. So, yeah, I think the Zits are in a really good place. And I just don't really see a pathway to them falling off. I think that there's a team that's here to stay. They're well equipped, they can make moves, and they have the team to do it right now. So
Yeah, and
yeah, right now they're my pick.
Injury insulated. They've got depth in the roster. I mean, the only knock I can give the Zits is Bowen's got to figure out how to manage all this talent. I mean, 2 weeks ago he had Monty with 33 points on the bench, and just last night we saw DJ Moore go for 45 on his bench. So like he's almost got too much depth at this point.
It could be like what we saw from the Vibers last year, where they were it was kind of death by depth, where you were just never starting the right player. But I mean, hey, even the Vibers made it to the championship. They are also reigning half champs, so I guess there is some precedent there for those types of teams to figure it out. So I think Bowen can do it. It is early in the season. I think that you kind of figure out, okay, who can I trust? Who's more of a plug and play by matchup type guy? So I think that at this point moving forward, I think Bowen will have a better feel for it.
I like it.
All right. You got anybody that sticks out to you? I mean, one that sticks out to me, I think it's an easy one to just kind of knock off the board. I think we keep Big Brain right in the Omaha tier. I think that it's just, I feel like they're just going to be here all season. It's just going to be you gotta, if you want us to shut up about it, you gotta make us shut up, right? If they want us to not call them the Peyton Manning, the Clayton Kershaw, the guy that always puts up the crazy regular season stats, never gets it done, always chokes in the playoffs, then stop choking in the playoffs. Go get a playoff win. Go make a legit championship push. I'm not talking about putting up the most points in the regular season. And that'll shut us up and we'll take you out of the tier. But until then, you are like maybe the most dangerous team that I do not fear. I guess we can also go with another one actually, because I'm just looking right at the logo.
It's Wallace.
Yep. We got to talk about Wallace.
We got to talk about Wallace. Yeah.
So we had 2024 on deck for him. I kind of want to change that to the time is now.
Time is now. I like it.
Maybe with a question mark if we want to.
I think the time is now.
And we can figure out how we want to do it as far as how we want to stack them, because maybe these other teams still will go over them. We can get Mikey the hell out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, hold on.
I think it's the time is now, and it's got to bump up a tier above RB Hell.
Yeah.
And then I almost feel like we gotta, in this same conversation, we gotta talk about Vibers and Simcoe as well.
Yeah, we can wrap them all in together. I mean, I just want to say one thing about Wallace's team is I think we were just wrong about CJ Stroud. I think that I do think that there was we were talking about the two quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and I think that we were all kind of assuming that Bryce Young was a lock to pan out. And I mean, they could still break the trend and they can both work out. But I mean, there's no denying that CJ Stroud's gotten off to, a pretty historic start. I mean, he's not thrown an interception. He's somewhere up there in terms of yards through that many games. He's made the Texans into a competitive team. And this was a season where I thought that they were going to be absolute dog shit. I mean, we saw them in the preseason. Maybe I was just, looking too deep into the preseason game, but he looked awful against the Patriots. He looked like he was so under pressure. And I mean, I was just sticking to what, kind of my scouting report on him. I felt like he was really good when he was in there and the play ran exactly to how it was supposed to run. But when he had to get on the move and create a little bit and get out of that pocket, I felt like he kind of lost everything that he had. But that hasn't seemed to be a problem this year. I mean, the Texans, they were playing really good football for a team that has, as little talent as they realistically have. So right now we've been wrong on CJ Stroud. I mean, I'm still going to stick to my guns. I'm not going to pray on his downfall or anything, but I'm not going to fully admit that I was wrong. We're only 4 games in. How many times do we see flashes in the pan like that? But for now, he's shutting us up. I mean, CJ Stroud has absolutely shut us up. It seems like Wallace does have the 2 quarterbacks that he needs, and that was kind of what was holding him back in terms of being ready to compete this year versus next year. So I think he's for now, he's figured out the problems that he's had. He made the moves for the running backs. Dalvin Cook, I don't think it was even worth getting, but I mean, Derrick Henry was a great get for him. So, I mean, I think the time is now for Wallace. What are you thinking, Pete? It sounds like you're more than, in agreement.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, and it's like he's done it like in a weird way. Like Stroud, rookie quarterback, putting up the numbers he has been crazy. You got Nico Collins, wide receiver 1 out of nowhere, and he added Derrick Henry. So it's like, I think we said it last episode, or during the last tier break, is like, Wallace added Derrick Henry. That makes that to me. I think I said that to me is him planting in the flag. Like the time is now, and he's putting up the numbers to back it up. So I'm all in. Wallace is a playoff contender this year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at that roster right now and the way that all of them are playing, it's like, this is just a team that is ready to win now. This is just a nasty redraft team. So, I mean, I'm sticking with it. I mean, I think that he's got my full support here. I think that he's ready to go. And I think that, that's kind of what I was hinting at when we were talking about that playoff picture. I feel like we've always said it's kind of 5, and then there are teams that are fighting over that 6th spot. That was more the narrative last year, but I do think that carried into this year a little bit. And I feel like he's starting to kind of close that door on the rest of the teams. He's ready to go. He's putting up the numbers. So if they keep playing like this, there's no reason to doubt him.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we said we wanted to mix in what the Vibers and then also Simcoe here. So yeah, I mean, I think Simcoe for sure gets out of running back hell. I'm not quite sure the problem is solved though. I mean, he traded for these guys. He gave up so much. Tony Pollard, he goes and gets them. He takes out Christian Gonzalez, defensive rookie of the year. It's whatever. I'm not mad about it. It's just classic Simcoe. That's how Simcoe's luck goes, right? His very boy goes out and takes out his son, but whatever. I'm not even upset about it. Pollard hasn't played great. He didn't play great in the 1 week since the trade. Brian Robinson hasn't been, exactly a league winner this season or since Simcoe's acquired him. Do you think that he's gotten fully out of RB hell? Is he in RB purgatory? Is he in RB heaven? Is he just on earth? Like, where do you have him right now?
I think he's just on earth. Like this is running back room is not, big brain by any means, but it's not running back hell by any means either. So my pitch here, I guess, is like we take that contenders tier we had.
Yeah.
And I think Simcoe, and then I think when we get to the Vibers, both them can kind of jump into that contenders tier.
Yeah, I mean, where do we want to put them? Because we can just put them both together right now. I mean, do you want to put it like under the time is now? Do you want to put them below Wallace? Are they above Wallace between Big Brain?
I think it's above Wallace, below Zits. I just don't know if it's above or below Big Brain. Maybe default to points 4 there.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah, who is it? Who's leading the league in points for right now? What's the actual lead at? I think I do. I must have it here, right? So it'd be here, the week 4 playoff picture. So Big Brain, they do have the most.
Okay.
I would put them below. I would put them both below Big Brain. I mean, of course, we make our jokes about the all odds here, but right now, they are the stronger team. They are the division winner. We couldn't put Simcoe above his own division winner that's outscoring him by 40 points this year. So yeah, for sure below Big Brain. I guess between Big Brain and Wallace.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Add row below. I mean, do we just want to call it contenders? That feels kind of. I feel like contenders doesn't really belong there, right? Because it's like we got the team to beat, we got a kind of a meme tier above them, and then the time is now. So it's like, are they just contenders, or I don't know. I don't really know what to call it though. That's.
I mean, their teams are both the real deal.
Yeah. Dangerous? Are they like a dangerous tier? I feel like it's something like that. Like, because we got the team to beat, we got the time is now. So I feel like it's something like I feel like frisky is more of like a word for like the shitty teams that can beat you. So I don't think frisky is the right word. I don't know. We could always leave it there. We could come back to it. We can we can always think a little bit more about it. But yeah, let's move on. We'll come back to this tier. Maybe we end it with a good name for them. I mean, we're talking about running back hell now. Mikey is still in there. Are we letting him out? Are we bringing him back to earth as well, or is he still?
No, absolutely not. He added Zeke Elliott. He added Zeke Elliott. That does not get you out of running back hell. No way.
I know. I think he still. Yeah, I think he still belongs to running back hell. I do think that there are other things that we could say about his team, but I mean, for the most part, he's in running back hell. I guess he made an attempt to get out of it, but I mean, he's not out of it. He's still in there. He's still starting. I believe right now he's currently starting Najee and Jalen Warren. So I don't think Zeke is getting back into that starting lineup. And then, I mean, I guess, he's got Timberland boots and Latavius Murray. I guess they're a bit of a surprise from what they had, but until he makes a big move, I think he has to stay there. I think that really where Mikey's trending towards, he did go out and he got his own first rounder. So I do think that he is flirting with the idea of tearing it down. I know that on the Myrtle Beach trip, he was floating around some big trades where he'd be getting rid of players and getting picks in return. So I feel like he kind of has his eyes on the rebuild. We saw the playoff picture. We saw, how far some of these teams are out of it. Right now, it is tough to get into that top 6. So I do think that maybe if that's where he's going, maybe he should just go that way, right? It's like when your loved one's on their deathbed and you just got to tell them, it's like, we're ready for you to go, let it go, just do it. Like Mikey, just dive into that rebuild again. You already did it in year 1. We thought you had some success. Try it again. It's very rare that people can try twice this quickly into a dynasty league. So just go for it. But right now you're still in running back hell. All right. I guess we've covered what? That's like the 7 up here. So we got these 5 down here. Pete, what do you think about
Yeah.
your team, the vision? Do you feel like you have earned a new tier? Do you feel like you still belong in this spot? Do you feel like you're still in the vision? I mean, if Mikey's in running back hell, are we really going to let him just be above you? Do we at least bump that down?
I think it's got to be bumped down.
I mean, because you're currently above him anyways. Like you're
Right.
currently in a
He's
better
one.
position to
I'm
make
on
the
the edge of
playoffs
finishing.
anyways.
Yeah.
You're doing that and you're getting Jonathan Taylor back as well. And I mean, who knows with JT, right? He could be rusty, who knows how he comes back and plays. But right now, all we got to go off of is what we know. And I mean, you're adding Jonathan Taylor to your lineup that is currently in seventh place. You're the seventh seed. You're the next one up. So yeah, I mean, we got to put you above Mikey at least. I mean, what do you got to say about your team? We kind of talked about it in the intro, but you got anything more you want to expand on?
Yeah, it's still the vision. It's still the vision and through until I get through 2024. If the season ended today, I'd have the 1-1. Well, I'd be in the lottery for the 1-1. And then the 1-6, right? The 1-6 with my own pick. So I think it's still the vision because I still have holes in this roster. With my team, though, I think people are sleeping a little bit on me potentially going out and getting Caleb Williams. I have the 1-1 right now. I don't think a lot of people knew that. We're going to get that. We're going to get to that when we get to Amaral's team on the Caleb Williams tier. But as it is right now, I've got the 1-1 or a 90% chance to get it. And the way Bryce Young's looked, like I'm 100% probably drafting a quarterback in next year's draft. If I've got the 1-1 or the 1-2, it could absolutely be a quarterback. And I don't think the division is complete until I have two solidified quarterbacks on my roster.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it is a very interesting narrative. It's like I said, every team that's in that lottery right now, and it does feel like there is a very clear divide between the playoff six and then the lottery six. Every team that's in it right now has their pick except for my pick, and that belongs to you. So you do currently have that 1-1, and then your position to get that 1-6. I do think there is a bit of a high floor as far as how far your pick can personally go, unless you started
Right.
tearing it down, but I don't think that that's really the direction that you want to go in with your roster.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that you're a team that's still going to be very competitive this year. It might be tough to just catch up to those teams that are currently in the playoffs right now, but you can still play a little bit of spoiler, especially when it comes to divisional races and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, there are still some holes to fill, right? Your quarterbacks aren't quite playing up to standard as far as a playoff team would go. Of course, with your running backs, it's to be seen, what JT is coming back. And then, you don't have like the greatest running back depth. And then, with the receivers too, it's just like, your receivers continue to get older, they continue to grow in. Kyle Pitts, see what he's going to be. Jameson, see what he is when he comes back. See how Puka plays when Cooper Kupp is back and all that. So, I think you're kind of in the position that we talked about with Wallace last year, and I think we were talking about him this year until we realized that he was ready to compete. But it's like you're in that spot where it's like if you wanted to kind of get aggressive and try and sneak into the playoffs, you're in a position to do so, and you can do that while also maybe not giving up on that race for Caleb Williams. So I think that you're in a very good spot. I think that this is a good place to put you right now because, like I said, some guys might prefer to have your team over like a middling playoff team, but we still got to see how it plays out. But yeah, I think as far as the best of the rest goes, you're at the top. So we got Mikey there. I guess we could talk about, we'll do my team. I think we'll go my team. Then we can talk about the Suns, and then we can kind of talk about that tankathon with McMorrow and then Amaral as well. Yep. I do think I'm wondering if I can get another one of your pictures in here and add you to both the Caleb Williams tier and the Vision. Maybe I can do that in the post edit or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I kind of say keep my team where I am. I still think I belong above the Tankers because in a way, even though I don't have my pick, in theory, I kind of am holding out. I mean, I'm essentially tanking for Kyler Murray. So it's just what I'm waiting on. So, even though I'm not, kind of playing for that top pick, I am kind of in that same boat where it's like, yeah, I mean, I might as well just sit around, take it on the chin. I mean, I think that maybe, I don't know, I guess we could keep it at the foundation. I think it's the foundation tier, the take it on the chin tier, where it's just like, I got to sit there. I got to take my lashings this year. I know I'm not going to put up big points if I'm not going to have that second quarterback, especially. And then also I just need, I got to find those running backs that really help my team. This week's going to be brutal. I'm getting killed by bye weeks, Jerome Ford and Charbonnet on bye weeks. So right now I got Samaje Perine, and then I think my only other running back that I could possibly start that's not on a bye week, like I said, is Izzy. So I got to see if there's anything on the waiver wire that I might want to pick up just to fill out that roster. I mean, George, he's kind of getting hurt by the bye weeks a little bit too. So maybe I can try and take advantage of that, drag him into the mud, try and kill him that way. But Yeah, I mean, I think I still stay here with the foundation. I think I just got, like I said, just take it on the chin, just accept that like this year's not the year unless something absolutely crazy goes on. I do think, I mean, there were talks about Kyler Murray potentially coming back this year. I think the earlier that he comes back, the more interesting that can make the race for Caleb Williams as well, because you want Kyler Murray to stay out the whole year, because then that takes away any chance I have of really climbing up. But if you were to come back, I mean, I think that he's now eligible to come off the PUP. I know that kind of, I think it was like week 8, I feel like is the number I have in my head for when he might come back. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if he comes back, that could really mix it up with me climbing up, maybe me playing a little bit of spoiler as well. So we'll see how I play out, but I don't think that there's much to add with my team. I don't know if you've got anything you want to move on. I think that the Suns can be a quick one, but you got anything to say about me, or then you can start off with the Suns?
I've been operating under the assumption that Kyler Murray is not playing this year. You just put that on my radar. So, we'll see about that. But yeah, nothing
They
else to
talk
say.
about him. I see videos of him on the sideline. He seems engaged with the team. He's always
Yeah.
on the sideline for games. He's posting when they won, like he posted a video of him celebrating with everybody on the sideline. So I feel like he's very engaged. I feel like he's not totally checked out. I feel like people are starting to write him off for some reason, but like he's still a crazy good quarterback. So he
Yeah.
wants to come back. He's been working out. So it would be interesting to see if he does actually come back this year. The chatter has started to get more. It's gone more from he's done for the year, he's not coming back, to, well, there is a chance, and then always eligible to come off, all that. So it seems like it's trending in that direction. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm interested to see. But yeah, let's get to the Suns. I mean, I think right now I'm just going to go ahead and make this move right here.
Yep.
I don't know where we want to put them. If we want to keep them in the Jeff Fisher tier, we want to keep them like that. My one thing about the Suns, start A-Chain. Start Devon A-Chain. What are you doing? Like, that's really my biggest note on them. It's like, just do it. Like, this guy's putting up crazy numbers. I mean, they started, right? I mean, he's like, oh, well, we had to start Josh Kelly because Eckler was out. It's like, no, you didn't. Josh Kelly in week 2 put up like 2 points. And then you start Josh Kelly, he puts up another stinker, and A-Chain goes off for like 50. A-Chain goes off for his career high. And then you don't play him coming off of that. It's insane to me. I mean, I cannot believe that they didn't do it. Start the guy, start putting those points up. I mean, last year, I think they were I think that they might have had like the biggest gap between their points scored and their max points for. I know that they were way up there. They got to figure it out. They got to start talking to the manager. They got to start figuring out exactly what their formula is. You got anything to add to them? I mean, I think that they just belong in the Jeff Fisher tier. I think that everything that we've said about him has been said 1,000 times. But if you have anything interesting to add to that, then go right ahead.
Only thing I'll say is I think the message has gotten through. There was whispers in Myrtle of a complete sellout. It was whispers in Myrtle of a blockbuster trade, a McMorrow-esque selling period for the Suns. I don't think that that's even remotely on the radar until maybe trade deadline this year. But I think we saw McMorrow pull the trigger this year, and we'll see the Suns pull the trigger next year, if not the end of the trade deadline this year.
Yeah, I agree. They were talking, especially when Pickett went down, all of a sudden they became, and I know Pickett's actually going to be playing this Sunday, but there were sudden talks like, oh, maybe we should trade Dak. And I know the Big Brain was talking about, oh, maybe we should be interested in Dak. So I do think that we're maybe trending that way. But like we said, like we've always said at McMorrow too, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm just not going to trust them to pull the trigger on anything massive like that until it's actually done. So I hope that they do it. I think it'll be good for the league. I think it'll be good for them. And I think it'll be very entertaining. So I love when teams run into it, and just please go right ahead. Please do it. Please start A-Chain. You have some good young pieces. Just play them. Just play them.
Yeah.
All right. Down to the last two, the Caleb Williams tier. I mean, I was thinking about it as we were talking about the Suns. I was trying to think about what I wanted to say as we moved on to them. I really don't think there's actually much to say about either team right now. I feel like we've kind of covered the whole race. We can add a little bit more to it. I mean, I know that you were talking about maybe Amaril's managing his way out of that 1-1. But I do think that it's an interesting race. I will pull up the picture one more time, just the draft lottery. So we do see, right, there's that clear divide here between the Suns and then the bottom 3. And then it's separated by about 70 points here. Sfogliatella and Carson Wentz are only separated by 8. So I think that's the more competitive race right here. Who's going to get into that power spot in number 2? And if it's not Caleb Williams, at least they get their pick of the rest of the litter. But I do think that in this draft class, I'd be pretty content with like any of these picks realistically. But yeah, how are you feeling, Pete? What's your read on this? I know that we were just talking about how you're kind of in that lead seat for the 1 spot, but what are we feeling beyond that? Who do we think are maybe those top prospects, and how do we think that this might unfold?
Yeah, I mean, as a guy who's rebuilded deeply for the last 2 years, I know how this points for race goes. Actually, bring it up one more time just so I can see the number.
Yep.
So you look at McMorrow, right? 416, Sfogliatella 48, you 347. If you just take you and Amaral, 60 points apart, 4 weeks into the season, 4 weeks is a significant point. Amaral has managed himself out of the 1-1, in my opinion, through Sam Howell and Baker Mayfield. Both have exceeded expectations. We know quarterback play drives points for in this league. I think he's genuinely managed himself out of the 1-1 and now necessarily the 1-2 as well. You look at Carson Wentz, McMorrow, he's projected 50 points this week. I think he's got one bye week in his lineup, so say call it 60. He's got a gap of, 70 points total? Is my math right there?
Yeah, 69, I believe.
You put up, 8? You've been putting up 80-point weeks, right?
Yeah.
He puts up a 60-point week for the rest of the season. This guy's going to have the 1-1 locked down by week 7, week 8. Like, if there's a 20-point difference between McMorrow and you and Amaral for the next 4 or 5 weeks, no one's going to catch McMorrow in the 1-1 race. So, like, if I'm a betting man, I think McMorrow's going to get the 1-1. And then
I do think he's going to close this gap pretty quickly. I do think it's going to be tough for Amaral to catch up. I mean, we're talking about him out managing himself, but if anything, I think it's Amaral, the GM. Really, it's not the coach, because when you look at the actual points for, he only has 8 more points scored than me.
Right.
But there's this huge gap in the max points for. So I think that just comes down to right now. I mean, my bench, right? My bench is a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of speculative plays at quarterbacks, a lot of backups that I'm hoping get an opportunity at some point. Obviously, I don't really have any running back depth at all. And then all my receivers are really young, and they're, Jalen Hyatt and Elijah Moore, and Isaiah Hodgins and, all those guys. So I don't have a high scoring bench. Like, all my points are going into my starting lineup for now. Exactly. So right now he just has like the deeper team. He has guys that are going off on his bench, and my guys aren't necessarily capable of putting up those numbers. I mean, I guess he's managing his way to a good tank, but in this league, it doesn't matter. We're doing max points for, so he might have to start. I mean, his best bet is to start selling off these guys that he's not playing on his bench. Who are putting up these points? Who's going off on his bench? If you're not starting them and they're going off, then sell them, because they're not part of your overall vision. Get rid of them because it's hurting your tank. So I guess that's my advice to him. I do think McMorrow's in a good spot where, like you said, and we were just talking about, he is going to close this gap on me pretty quickly, I think, because I do feel pretty consistent in like that, like call it 60 to 80 range at least. I feel like that's like my floor. McMorrow could be putting up like 20-point weeks. So exactly. He could catch me in like a week and a half, pretty much, essentially. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You got anything to add, or do you want to try and come up with what do we want to call this tier? I
mean, they're great. Those teams are great. Maybe aspiring greatness. I don't know. That feels has to be stronger than that, maybe.
What's the name of LeBron's school?
Akron?
No,
St. Mary or something like that?
No, like the school that he started.
I don't know. I know it Blaze Pizza.
No, I was thinking something else. No, it's not. It's the I Promise School. I was thinking it was called something else. Yeah, let's just say like maybe like Chasing Greatness.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we'll go with that because they are. I feel like they're not quite caught up to these top 3 teams. I feel like these are like the three great teams essentially, right? We got the standard, we got the team to beat, and then we got the regular season champs. So I feel like that they're kind of trying to catch up to them. I mean, they're both right. I mean, we got Simcoe going after Big Brain in the division race. We got the Vibers chasing 2 pins there. So I think that's a fair title for them.
Small note, but I also think we got to put McMorrow in front of Amaral and the Caleb Williams tier.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And then how do we feel about this? We think Simcoe over the Vibers?
Who's got more points for?
I believe it's the Vibers. The Vibers go, it's not huge, but 13 more. So it's pretty close. But yeah, I think for now we got to put them over there, right?
Yeah, for now we got to put them over it. I think Tony Pollard gets it going, and Simcoe eventually scores more points than them. But for now, I like it.
Yeah. All right. I'll screenshot this, get it out, and then I think I got some time. I might be able to get this episode out tonight, or maybe I'll just save it for a morning release on Saturday morning. But we'll see how I'm feeling. But all right, Pete, you got anything else to add?
No, that's it. Let's do it. First week.
All right,
first
Power Rankings 2.0. We'll get this out very soon. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about some games. Maybe we'll make up for the no guests here. Maybe we'll try and get a guest next week and see how that plays out. All right.